The Boys Season 4 Episode 6 was just released, and it dropped the biggest revelation that the show has probably ever had with regards to Kessler. However, I think most of us knew what it was before it was revealed. As we're set to embark onto the final 2 episodes, it seems like Butcher and Homelander's stories are becoming more and more similar, with the virus from Gen V looking like it's going to cause mass chaos and devastation if it's revealed. Butcher is being met with a difficult decision, plus Homelander is being made to feel inferior yet again. I thought I'd give my theories and predictions on what I think is going to happen in the next episode, so let's get into it. Here is The Boys Season 4 Episode 7 Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. A-Train's redemption arc is essentially on the verge of being complete, and there was a moment in Episode 6 which was extremely wholesome to watch. Following him saving Mother's milk and taking him to the hospital after he had a panic attack, there was a young boy standing there, and he gave A-Train a smile, smiling face with smiling eyes, which caused A-Train to feel a sense of happiness, something that he's not felt in a long while. I don't think we've actually seen him smile once throughout the entirety of the season. The only facial expressions it feels like he's had are those which make it seem like he's full of worry, dread, and regret. He had this smile because in that moment, he was recognized for actually being a real hero. This wasn't a save that was staged or a moment which was orchestrated in order to give him good publicity. This was him actually doing something good, and with him feeling true recognition off of somebody, it gave him a feeling like no other. The next episode of the show is titled The Insider, and we all know that A-Train is technically the insider because he's working with Mother's Milk and the rest of the boys. With Homelander now knowing that it wasn't Cameron Coleman that was the leak, and with him maybe being suspicious of Sister Sage because of what Firecracker said, in order for Sage to save herself from Homelander, she may end up revealing to Homelander that it's A-Train who's been the leak, as it's been clear and obvious that she knows that he's been up to something. I think that revelation will most likely be made in the next episode of the show. In terms of A-Train's death, it feels like there's going to be an act of heroism that he carries out one final time before he dies. His brother and nephews were disappointed with him in episode 2 of the show, and that part of the story needs completing. So the only way for that to happen is for A-Train to die whilst carrying that out, so his nephews and brothers see him for the true hero that he actually became. We were all expecting A-Train to die, but I suppose there is a chance that he might not. However, seeing how most of us knew that Kessler was within Butcher's mind, it does make me think that maybe this season is just a little bit more predictable. I am loving A-Train's redemption arc, though. It's being handled in such a perfect way. We're seeing a broken man trying to rebuild himself and be the hero that he's been pretending to be for a large part of his life. He's reconciled and gained forgiveness from Huey. He's feeling the weight of the death of Cameron Coleman, the feeling of disappointment from his family, and the moral beliefs that he has no longer being aligned with the Seven. I just hope that they give him a send-off in the most appropriate way. With the finale being titled Assassination Run, I wonder if that also has something to do with A-Train's death. Butcher, within episode 6, found out that Kessler wasn't real as he reached the lowest he'd been in terms of his physical and mental health. The real Kessler was actually dead and died many years ago, and within Butcher's mind, the dark side of it was taking on the form of him. The final moment in the episode showed that Butcher was concerned over the realization, and it was actually the first time that we saw him being present within the season of the show. Samira said how in order for the virus to be strong enough to defeat Homelander, it would have devastating effects, essentially meaning that a pandemic would be created and all soups would face the risk of dying, even those that Butcher cared about. But most importantly, Ryan Becca said how if Butcher killed Homelander, it meant that another one would essentially be created. This can almost take on 2 different meanings. The first is that if Ryan managed to survive the virus, then he'd most likely walk in his father's footsteps and have some kind of resentment towards humans due to the fact that they'd be responsible for the mass killing of soups. But also, it could mean that Butcher would essentially be acting like Homelander in that moment. Homelander wants to reign supreme over humans, and if Butcher released a virus into the world that killed soups, he'd be doing what Homelander is trying to do, but just on the other side. So it's a real dilemma that he's found himself in, with literally the angel and devil on both sides of his shoulders. I don't think Butcher will turn down the opportunity for Samira to create a virus which is extremely strong. It all feels like it's leading to the virus being out there, Otherwise, what was the point in introducing it? So Butcher will probably get Samira to crack on with making the strain that could be deadly. However, we know that Butcher has Compound V in his system, so the virus could also prove to be deadly towards him. Butcher seemed to have had a completely different type of reaction to the V, so I wonder if the virus does get out there, if it will kill the parasite that's moving around within his body rather than attacking Butcher himself. He saw what his own fate looked like with the rabbit, and that's something that's probably front and center within his mind. I think we may also find out what Butcher's powers are in the next episode. When he blacked out after killing Azul, the dark side of his mind took over, and that was when his powers truly came out. So I wonder if now, because he's fully aware that Kessler is inside of his head, he's going to be aware when he does get the urge to use his powers. Do I think Butcher is going to die in this season of the show? I don't think so, but there is a small chance. It would be epic if they killed him off in the finale if the virus does get put out there, but the whole questioning around what he feels he should do and the repercussions of his actions would get lost completely, so I don't think he'll get killed off before the end of the season. Homelander. With regards to Homelander, he was made to look inferior when he was giving his speech at Tech Knight's Federalist Society party, and he showed that he wasn't clued up in the slightest when it came to politics. He needed Neuman to save him, and it was something that he wasn't happy about in the slightest. The only person that gave him an ounce of respect in the episode was Firecracker, and I think that's going to be something that's going to change the direction of Homelander compared to what we've seen of him so far. We saw that he was trying to eradicate this need to be loved by people, but the most recent episode showed us that it wasn't removed after episode 4, but instead, it was pushed down, and it was still building up inside of him. With Neuman getting the praise, he was standing there twitching and not knowing what to do, with Firecracker showing him an ounce of love. We saw his whole demeanor change, and I think that's something which will allow him to level out the emotions that he has in his head at the moment. He'll be satisfied with getting his milk, knowing that somebody is prepared to do something for him and also getting love from his son, the love that he desires most. So this will ultimately allow him to not be distracted and going for what he wants. I think he's going to up the search for the leak, and with Sister Sage letting him down, the dynamic between them will shift slightly as well. Homelander has assembled his army, and he's most probably going to put them to the test in carrying out tasks to show just how loyal they are. Maybe once A-Train gets found out, he goes on the run, and then Homelander may task them to kill him. The Deep and Black Noir are the outsiders at the moment, so I feel they'll most likely do as he says in order to show that they're committed to the cause.